As I always do, I want to leave a memento for you. Thank you so much. And you are remembered. And I definitely will come to visit you again. Maybe next time I'll bring a baseball. Maybe I'll bring some flowers. Let me tell you Dolly's story along with the others, and man, what an amazing story it is.
Started out with scouts, sent scouts through Canada. I'm a Canadian, or was a Canadian, and that's how I got picked up, through scouts going from east to west in Canada. And they sent scouts to Cuba and all over the United States for that matter. I think the only ones that didn't show up the first year we didn't scout was California. But anyway, it was, for me, we were interviewed in a downtown hotel, and they picked several local players to come, and I happened to get chosen as one. Well, and I'm telling you might as well give me $1 million, because I just thought I was on my road to stardom. And so that's the way the players are found in that first year. And it was spring training. I was delegated to Kenosha to start with. And I was a little late arriving, and I can remember going down to the field house, and they were all down there practicing and whatnot, and I just felt like I was a fish out of water, you know, didn't know anybody, and all these girls were Americans, and I was a little Canadian girl. But anyway, it was a strange feeling, but a good feeling. And consequently, I got a little homesick along the road, but I got over that in a hurry, and I stayed the whole 12 years. So, and that's sort of what it was like. Yeah, I came late, so we had to go to Chicago, and they delegated where you should go, what team. And I went with a very good girlfriend of mine that also played ball in Winnipeg, and she was relegated to Rockford, and I had to go to Kenosha, and we almost cried because we got separated. Sure. Anyway, but that was the feeling that you got when you first came. It was a good beginning. Yes, they had lots of publicity before they started, you know, and the first year was come see, come saw, you know, because they only had the 4 teams, you know, South Bend, Rockford, and Kenosha and Racine. And so consequently, it hadn't reached its potential at that time. But each year it got better and the game changed, you know. And
I'd go down to the grocery store and read the sports from the Daily Oklahoma newspaper. And that's
You
where I read
lived in
about
Oklahoma?
It. Yeah, I was from Hess, Oklahoma. And I would always read the sports, and I was always a baseball player with in school and everything. But you know, back then girls couldn't play with the boys on real games. So then I heard about it, and they were coming from Cuba that year, coming up from the south and playing a benefit game in Oklahoma City. And that's how I, and then I wrote the sports writer, and he sent my card or letter or whatever it was on to Chicago, and then they contacted me, and that's the way it went. Springfield Sallies, and that was in Springfield, Illinois. First year, 1947, they wanted me to go to Rockford, and I got on, borrowed the money, went on the train to Chicago, and I got homesick and turned around and went back home. Then I had to pick cotton again to pay off the bank loan. So I made it in 1948, and that was the good part.
Where I lived in 1945 when the Chicks first came to Grand Rapids was just about a block from Southfield. And as I recall anyway, my father noted that there was a girls' team coming, and he suggested that maybe I go over to Southfield and see if I could get a job doing something. So I did that. I think the first thing I did was pick stones out of the diamond when they cut the diamond at Southfield, and then cleaned up under the bleachers, which was great fun because you found money. I'm only about 8 or 9, 10 years old at this time, and then I became Batgirl.
Did all the teams have Batgirls rather than Batboys?
I believe they all did have Batgirls, right?
Okay.
she was only 11 years old when she was a fat girl.
And I was telling Dottie earlier today when we were looking at the pictures you had that at the first year, I believe they wanted me in some form of uniform, and they put me in a gray skirt and a red sweater, and I suffocated in that red sweater all summer long. And then I think the next year they got a regular uniform.
Again, like Beans, I played ball as a youngster in the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
And in the back of a rule book, there was a name and an address about the professional women's baseball. So I wrote them a letter, and they were going to have a tryout in May in Battle Creek, Michigan. So I came down and tried out. There was 106 of us girls showed up from the Midwest, and 6 of us were chosen. And I went back. That was 2 weeks before I graduated from high school, and I graduated on Thursday night. Saturday, I was playing ball in Grand Rapids.
It was the all-star team, and we had a little league, but it was kind of the minor league of the All-American. And they had tryouts to go up to the majors. We all considered it the majors. Well, I tried out, but I wasn't good enough to be put on a team, but there was going to be a barnstorming team in '49. So my mother and Dad, we got on the L, you know, the L in Chicago.
Sure.
Went downtown and signed a contract so I could play on that barnstorming tour. 10,000 miles in 3 months. Ooh, I think we visited Beansy's hometown. we were all over the place. And then at the end of that year, I went with South Bend. And just like the major leagues, I was traded to Grand Rapids. You were just traded. You packed your bags and it was adios.
No money involved either.
No money. It was usually for players.
Yeah, back and forth.
Grand Rapids needed an infielder, South Bend needed a pitcher, and here I was the rookie.
There you go.
Well, when they expanded to 10 teams and they had to have players for these extra 2 teams, that's when our better teams, like the Chicks, we had to give up 2 or 3 good players, you know, which kind of was rough. Nobody liked that too well. I guess if you raised enough cane, maybe you could. I don't know. Sometimes we won, sometimes we didn't in that department.
Out in the professional league, softball league in Chicago.
Okay.
And Woody English managed one of those teams, and he remembered me from there, and they needed, I think it was when Connie retired.
Connie Wisniewski.
Right. They needed an outfielder, so he came down and got me. And that's how I came out.
Yeah.
Well, to play it's better.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was better to watch or not, but I
He was
really...
famous for hitting home runs over the factory roof.
That.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I went back and I couldn't do it today. That's a long ways away.
I think the owners wanted baseball.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
And,
think it would be more of an attraction than
Right.
regular softball. There's so much softball being played, but ladies playing baseball was a different story.
The game was a pitcher's game with,
Yeah,
With the big one?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
and
And you get a
There weren't a
baseball
lot.
like this
yeah,
one,
and
which
as
is
it-
where
and then see when it
basically-
went sidearm, it got smaller,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then overhand smaller, ending
Okay.
up with. I noticed my.
They could curve and drop them better in softball.
right.
than
Although
they
those
could curve and
pitchers with that softball, they had some real drops and rises back
Oh,
in
yes.
45, 46.
That's neat.
Today, the college gals can throw that riser and drop. I umpired some real fast pitch and marvelous pitchers, and they could make that ball dance.
Right. And I think that they changed that ball to liven up the league and
game,
to get
yeah.
a different component.
Yeah.
Because you remember how they had to back up, they built a fence at South Field and left field, and then with
Yeah.
the bleachers out there with Doler Jarvis,
Yeah.
and the balls were sailing over them, and it was to enhance the game, to bring
Okay.
more people out. Softball wasn't that unique. I mean, women had played softball, but they wanted to bring a different game. They could play it. They could make the changes. Yeah.
Well, I
right
just
there.
told you one there.
Right there. Another one right here too. Rosemary too. She could hit a ball. She still can. She hit one last Saturday.
Out of the park.
No, not out of the park, but about took the first baseman's arms off. Wasn't that you?
That's sometimes even more
And Dolly,
satisfying.
and you were terrified. You were at second base.
No, I kept yelling, make her pop it up, make her pop
Different lengths.
Yeah.
The
Ounces.
classic major league bat.
Okay.
I remember
Whatever it was.
going down to the Vim, and they had the scale there. You know, we
the
bought
Vim-
off
the Vim-
the Vim Sporting Goods.
Okay.
Right on Monroe, right
Okay.
off Division. We'd have to go down there, and Zig said, "Oh, I want this ounce." Somebody'd say, "I need this ounce." Well, just give me anything. Now, how about the length, Dolly? Oh, give me a short one. Anything to get around on those fast pitches.
Thin handle,
Yes.
but
So you can
with a
whip
bigger
it,
knob.
whip it more when you swing. Yes.
I can remember Doris Satterfield. She had the longest. She and Connie
I think
used
34, 36
Oh,
inches.
they used the longest bats on the club.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to touch them either. You were too little. Rookies, I joined the team in French Lick, Indiana. And I came in late at night, so there was a room. I joined the team at the breakfast table. And this gal across from me was saying, "Boy, wait till that Nemec gets here. She's a rookie. Just wait till she gets here. She's going to shine every shoe on this club." And I'm sitting there eating. She didn't know I was sitting
You were
across
already
from her.
there.
I was there. And I kept thinking, 1, 2, 3, how many pairs of shoes do I have to shine tonight?
Do you remember who it was?
Ziegler
Oh,
was.
Zig?
It was Zig. She was telling everybody, "Wait till that gal gets here. Just wait, boy. We'll put her to work."
Oh, yeah.
I was there.
Yeah. The whole time,
Okay.
from the Milwaukee days right till the end.
When I played professional softball, we had a pair of shorts with a blouse. And if it was, I forget how cold it had to be, but we had long pants also.
If it got cold enough.
Huh.
Yeah.
But it had to be a certain degree before we could wear those. So there was no skirt, it was just shorts.
The reason we got skirts and dresses like that, they were trying to make the game extremely feminine because they didn't want to, rough and tough girls hanging around the ball field. They wanted it to be a ladylike game and yet play a men's game.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that's why there was a lot of designing went into those uniforms. And
No,
That's not the road
Blue and
ramps.
gray.
It's white. It was white at home and gray on the road.
how's
but
our song go?
Bigelow Field's fire in 1952 wiped out the uniforms,
That's right.
and then we borrowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those were Springfield, weren't they? Or Peoria.
Okay. Purple.
Sure, but I remember, and they had
After
those
the
big,
fire, you mean?
after the fire,
Yeah.
big skirts, and they were long, and it was awful.
God, they never used those then, did they?
We used them in Kalamazoo that night, right after the fire, when we went to
Where'd
play
they
there.
come from? You don't remember?
I don't have any idea, but they were purple, I remember.
We
Right.
moved to Bigelow
Bigelow Field,
Okay.
but we weren't there long.
No, we
Somebody
weren't.
burned it down.
We're manicured and
Yeah.
taken care of.
Good.
Yeah.
I
I
think
did.
Southfield was an excellent field, and,
Was.
Yes,
and
South.
going to South High School at that time also in Grand Rapids, that field was lying dormant until this league came in.
Well, we rebuilt
and
that
we
whole
rebuilt
street.
the
Put in
street,
that
the
new
stadium,
scoreboard.
and then they did play high school football there again.
Okay.
But that was an intimate, excellent stadium for us. Because
Generally,
the fans were close. I mean,
Yeah.
47, 48, 10
Yeah.
up when they put the bleachers in left field all the way
Yeah.
around through center, and with the right field bleachers and bleachers going down both first base and third base, I think they pushed 8 to 10. I think you can find headlines in the Herald that'll state 300.
The outfield fence?
That Doler Jarvis building
that
problem there.
fence
see,
there,
though.
yeah.
Right field was short.
As I remember, had boards. Am I right?
Right, and yeah, they had boards painted.
a board fence all the way around the
All the way
outfield?
around there.
Right, and they had the advertising. We didn't have that at Southfield.
South Bend
typical.
was in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah.
So for us to
Yeah,
get,
that's right.
at Playland Park,
Right.
so for us to get there, it was a hot day walking across the blacktop,
Oh, gee.
getting in the dugout, picking the
Right.
tar out of your spikes.
Oh.
But we were right in the middle of that racetrack.
I remember it was a pass ball at South Bend, went forever behind you. If
Right.
it got by you. Remember? She had the best job of any, and she was the best chaperone.
Oh,
Must have
thank
been
you.
good that you were there
Thank
the
you.
whole time.
Yeah, I was there the whole time. Well, the only place I had any say was in the clubhouse. I could really rule with an iron hand there. But once they got outside that clubhouse, they all went their separate ways, and it was pretty tough to keep track of them. Sometimes they got away from me. Yeah, but anyway, I had lots of luck with the girls. They were a good bunch and cooperative, mostly cooperative, and they got along real well. Most we had at one time was 20,
Okay.
but usually around 18, and then towards the end we got down, I think, to about 16 or 17. Sometimes, like when we had Zig that played second base, she could go in and pitch
Okay.
too, see, and so things, most of the gals could play two positions,
Yeah.
so.
I played my first game in center field.
Most
And
of
the first
kids
pitch.
went full 9 innings too. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't any of that nowadays. If you go 6 innings, you're wonderful. We
In
had
the
some,
beginning,
but
we had about 5 pitchers, I think, on the roster, 5 or 6 pitchers.
But they kept that down.
But that's all
Doubleheaders, and their arms
Yeah.
were all right.
But
was the
that's all they
difference.
did was pitch.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
we had pitchers, we had catchers,
Yeah.
infielders, and outfielders.
Okay.
Had to be-
Two?
I don't
I
remember
don't
that.
remember it when
I think that
Something
was
I
sort
don't
of a
remember either.
figment of somebody's imagination. I don't know if that was really enforced.
yeah,
Remember?
it was enforced, but
Was that the whole time?
not the whole
No,
time.
at the end.
At
That-
the end,
see,
when
that's all
players were
part of
getting
the-
scarce.
Oh, yeah, okay. Farm,
They didn't.
Team
They
didn't
weren't.
have
They weren't
farm team.
scouting anymore.
no.
Yeah.
They-
We didn't want a boyish haircut, let's put it that way, but so they look feminine, and so we enforced that as much as you could.
That had to be
Sometime-
uncomfortable for the players. You'd want your hair as short as possible, otherwise that.
Especially when you had to wear a cap all the
Yeah.
time, and everybody wanted your hair to look beautiful. Well, wouldn't have hope. Yeah. Yeah, I played ball, so I know, and I had long hair. Oh man.
You had hair way to your waist, Daddy, when you were a chaperone.
Yeah. I know.
Right.
Oh, so
I
was
think a
hard.
lot of the gals wore pigtails.
Right.
yeah.
That would be one way to
way
get
to
around
do
the
it.
problem.
Teeny was famous for hers.
Teeny and,
pictures, yeah.
and Dottie Schroeder
Schroeder,
and Bittner, Janie Bittner.
Yeah, hers
Bottom
was
had
real long.
pigtails or longer hair. Yeah.
That was a part of the scheme. That was to teach these girls. A lot of the girls, when you're out playing that game, it's tough. And a lot of them didn't pay attention. They didn't wear rouge and lipstick and
We
all
were
that.
just kids,
junk.
Daddy, coming in at the beginning.
That's
Just
right.
Kids.
And so,
Kids and-
Wrigley and his outfit decided to have a charm school director come in, and I guess we had 2 or 3 sessions. At spring training was where it started. And taught these girls how to put on makeup, how to do their hair and all that jolly stuff, and what to wear to look feminine. And I think that lasted about 2 years, and that was the end of that. It was up to me after that. And
And you did it.
well, don't look at how nice looking they are.
I think you've done a splendid job as far as...
Oh, boy.
I think it was wise decision to have men as a chaperone, as a manager, and they tried to pick retired ball players, you know, big league ball players, like Max Carey and
Didn't Jimmy Fox play?
Jimmy
Jimmy
Fox was a manager at one, but well-known.
and Johnny Rawlings.
Johnny Rawlings from
Dave
the
Bancroft.
Dave, what was his name?
Elwood, Woody.
Yeah.
There was
We
no
were there to play
gender
ball.
there.
You were getting paid to play ball, and so you were going to play ball.
Okay.
He threw his hat down and jumped on it in the dugout.
Oh, yeah.
And who taught you to play ball? And then the next time he was complimenting you on a nice play.
So he pushed it real hard.
He did.
Yeah.
I got $65 a week, and I was in a pear tree.
Did you get expenses beyond that?
We got $3 a day on the road.
Yeah.
$3 a day meal money plus our hotel.
Okay.
And when we were at home, we were on our own.
Yeah, most of the girls were in good places.
Sure.
Some women, some of these older ladies that took these girls in almost treated them like their own daughters, you know,
Yes.
so it was nice.
That was
Yes.
that was a
Yeah.
good.
That was a real community attachment.
Division Avenue bus. No, Scout's Honor. It was. They had 2, didn't they? Didn't Division Avenue have 2 luxury buses? And one was ours. What? North? No, we had Division Avenue first.
By plane one year.
Oh, really?
Oh, before me.
Okay, that was in the beginning, around 45, I think it was a 45 or 40, 45 we came to Grand Rapids, 46 we were traveling by plane.
Wow. That
Remember
happened.
the old Capital Airlines?
Sure. Flew in and out of the airport.
Yeah.
Madison
Yeah.
Avenue,
Was you
right
in the
on
war?
Madison.
Flew us over to Rockford
Yeah.
across the Big Lake and planes
Yeah.
for a playoff.
I
For
know
the
one.
playoff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know one time coming back, you know, sometimes you could, during war years, you know, you got bumped off a plane.
Oh, sure.
Easy as that. And many times I got bumped off in Muskegon.
And it was up to you to get
but
back
I
to
had to
Grand
get off the plane because I didn't play ball. See, I was a chaperone, so that's...
And there went your
and
team.
every
And
time somebody mentions Muskegon, forget it.
you don't want any part of that anymore.
You know, that was
Players.
something that we didn't pay much attention to
Yeah.
and didn't think. I think there were some efforts to. I don't recall that it happened, though, did it?
I don't think they
No.
were interested.
No, I don't
like
even
today.
remember anyone coming to try out or
We just
Maybe-
had the Cuban gals.
Okay. So there were.
well,
some.
you know, we went on a tour of South America with a Cuban team and an American team, the Cubanos and the Americanos.
Uh-huh.
And I happened to go on that tour, and they had all of the girls that went, the Cuban girls that went, had played in the All-American League, and they were good players, and they played against the Americanos, and half the time they were winning, they were beating us. It was a terrible situation. Anyway,
Didn't take the trip again the next year then.
No.
No, we brought them up to play, right?
With us. Pepper games.
Right.
Do you remember during the war we had to make a V when they sang
Yep.
the
National
Start-
anthem and
National
sure.
anthem
In
and
fact,
V.
if I remember correctly, the singing of the national anthem at baseball games in general starts as a result of the war.
Basic baseball.
Okay.
Today, in fact, last night, George Bell couldn't bunt. You know, he's a home
Never
run
has
hitter.
been able to, as far as I
But
know.
they needed a run,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't bunt. But we had to know how to bunt,
Okay.
hit and run, take 2 and hit to right. That's just that's an old joke. There were double plays, double steals. There was all basic baseball. Billy Martin was the man of basic baseball.
Okay,
You know,
sure.
the stealing of home, double steals, bunting, hit and run. the fun part of baseball.
I was worried about it to begin with,
Sure.
but it's such a nice game that
You
George
adjusted,
blended in very well.
she adjusted quickly.
Yeah.
Very well, right. And she was one heck of a ball player.
I have a curveball.
Did we hear the story?
I had a fastball.
You relied on a
My
fastball.
dad taught me how to throw. He never would let me throw sidearmers all overhand because he was a semi-pro first baseman.
Okay.
So I never could have made it before night. So it's a good thing I turned around and went back home in 1947. I'd never made it because I
You had
can't
to wait.
run. So pitching was it.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
had a hopping fastball. She had an excellent
Yeah.
fastball.
A little motion on that fastball when it
Oh,
came
yeah,
Jump
lots of
in.
motion, but she did have really kind of a rinky-dink curve.
in? Well, you were a catcher. You
But it
would
was
have
a
known
good
that.
change
sort
of
thing.
pace anyway.
I had a good high and tight pitch.
Yeah.
They expected that. They didn't go running out the mound and charging you if you give them a high and tight pitch. I think I get so angry when I see that in men's baseball today. I think stand up there and hit the ball.
Yeah. If they knock you down, get up and hit the next one back at them.
Right, I think that's
They
I
tacky.
think for $3 million we would have.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They want the whole batter's box, and the poor pitcher has no choice.
Yeah.
And if they brush him back, they want to beat up on him.
They want to fight. That's
Yeah.
just part of the
Wow.
game. I'm like Al Kaline. He gets angry at that
Yes, he
too.
does, yes.
Yeah.
And Canseco's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it-
Yeah.
I have some scars.
Because I was so ingrained with the idea that I looked like ladies. So I can tell you, we did put the books on our head and we did walk. We did walk like ladies.
Just like in the
didn't we?
movie, yeah.
Yeah, and because I wasn't there in the first year, I moved out there in June. But when I think of it, wasn't it just great to think that maybe we weren't going to do it, but the fact
Still
that we
playing, although they didn't come to our town because we didn't have a team, but
You look too young to have the games. Here, go ahead. You have it. This one, and this one. Here, there we go.
thank you very much, young lady. That's not my pen, but
Thank you. It was it's such a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow also.
we had a...
What did you think of her?
Oh, very good. She was left-handed. I didn't want to face her.
She was talking about the skirts, that they were so, wide. And she says, how come yours is not that wide? I says, well, I asked permission if I could take it in, to just let it hang. She says, well, what was the reason for that? I says, well, because when you go into your pitch, I actually dropped the ball hitting my skirt. And I said, if I did that in a real game, it's a balk, So he says, okay, go ahead. And I knew how to sew, so I just took a couple seams in and made it a little narrower.
She's going to be a bad girl. She's one of our bad girls.
Depends on the score, whether they're going to chase somebody with the bat or not.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow, definitely.